Welcome into the Bettor Half Hour and happy Thanksgiving weekend. I'm your host, Alex Monaco. You know how we do it. Cruising down on the double-decker. I'm on the mezzanine. I'm looking trends, betting angles. How can we take W's from Las Vegas? And I'm grateful for you guys, every single one of you tuning in, and I'm grateful and humbled to be a part of the best team I've ever been a part of here at MSG. And on that note, if you'll follow me on over here, because I'm just a San Diego kid stingray shuffling on over to the monitor, we're talking betting trends and breakdowns for this weekend. And it starts with a blockbuster affair. Tom Brady, coming off a W on Monday night, travels up with the Bucs up to Indianapolis against the red-hot Colts. They're 5-1 in their last 6, and they just put a smackdown. 2 back-to-back rock shout-outs on the show against the Bills, who everyone had pegged as the #1 team in the AFC just a couple of weekends ago. Couple of trends for you here, because it's an interesting number that opened at 2.5 and has now moved to 3. The Bucs on the road have not been kind against the spread. I got to double check it. They're 0-5 against the spread on the road this season. They have not covered all but one time, even though they're 8-0 at home and 4-1 against the spread at home in their last 8 going back to last year. So it's a tale of two teams when it comes to against the spread. Having said that, the Colts started out a little rocky, but they're above the market at the moment at 7-4 against the spread, and you owe a lot of that to their ground game. Jonathan Taylor gives up a Bills defense that says, you know what? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 5. John Cena, you can't see me. Touchdowns to make it 8 straight games for the guy. For a touchdown, that ties D'Angelo Williams back in 2008. That is the kind of tear he is on. So if you're looking for value there from a player prop trend, you got to think about JT getting in the end zone. Now, I will tell you, this is the #1 rush D in the NFL, and they've stayed at that mark all season. So if they humble 28, there's a world where it's going to be on Wentz's shoulder. Bucs, second most yards in the NFL and the #1 offense. So from an over-under perspective, this is going to be interesting. And the over hitting at 63.6% at home in Colts home games. So there could be value there with two teams that are cooking offensively when you talk about this one. But the spread, it's pretty even right now in Vegas, leaning Tampa Bay a little as the line moves towards Brady. And last thing I'll say on it, Brady lives for going against the Colts. We're talking 11-3 all time. He dominated Peyton Manning in the regular season. So you know he loves going up against the horseshoe. All right, now we shift to another marquee matchup, a delicious entree for Sunday afternoon. We got the Rams fresh off a Larry David Lamp bye, couple of L's in a row. They had a week to sit in the corner and think about it, going against the Packers, who had a back-and-forth, almost steal of a win in Minnesota that went all the way down to the wire. Now, this is very interesting because the Packers at home, they're the play, statistically speaking. 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 games at home, and they're 4-0 against the spread versus a team with a winning record. This is a team that's only not covered 2 times in the entire NFL season, ladies and gentlemen. And Aaron Rodgers, I found this absolutely fascinating. Off a loss, which has only happened 7 times under the LaFleur era. 7-0. They've never lost. Every loss prior, they bounced back with a W. You remember it against the Seahawks, 17-0. Now, the Rams are 0-4 against the spread in their last 4. And quick little Stafford note, all right? He's well under 500 against the Packers in the NFC North in his career. He's had 5 road interceptions of his 8. You look at this top 3 defense in Green Bay and points against to maybe make it tough for Stafford in the frozen tundra. And we move on. We got now the Patriots hosting the Titans. Patriots, hottest team in the NFL, 5-0. 5-0 against the spread, and they're beating teams in that winning record. 21 points is the differential in points. Serenity now, that's insanity. But the Tennessee Titans live for being underdogs. They are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 as road underdogs dating back to last year. They've been underdogs 3 times on the road. They have won all 3 games on the road. This line's sitting at 6.5. But I will tell you, the Patriots, top defense in the NFL, and they score the most points defensively of anybody in the NFL. This is going to be a tough one. Tannehill, serviceable against the Patriots in his career, obviously going back to the AFC East with the Finns. And real quick, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little Giants at home hosting the Eagles, NFC East with it. Eagles off a couple of back-to-back W's, including up in Denver and then saucing the Saints. This is incredible because the Eagles are now the 8th-ranked offense in the NFL, and they're 4-2 in road games against the spread. They're an above 500 cover. Now, this is going to be a show-up or not offense because Jason Garrett has been swiped left on. But Freddie Kitchen is in the building, and we'll see if Kitchens can pull it off because it's a new offense, and it's put up or shut up pretty much for Joe Judge. I got a gavel over there. I'm ready to, whatever we got to do to get these guys going. But the Eagles, keynote here for you real quick. If they score above 23.6 points, they are 3-0 against the spread, and the Giants give up that. You hate to do it. Now, it's the 25th ranked offense. And Daniel Jones, he's not necessarily cooking. So for me, this is a 3.5 point spread. It's exactly where it should be, but I think the value maybe lies on the hotter team, which is the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, he's balling. So think about it. Hate to go against the G-men, but at the moment, I got to go to break. And on a G-Men note, I got a former Giant coming up, Geoff Schwartz, to talk all things NFL with me. We'll be right back on the Bettor Half Hour. And welcome back into the Bettor Half Hour. All right, we're bringing him back because he's so money. We just had to. Former New York Giant, NFL lineman. You've seen him all over Fox. You've seen him all over the national airwaves. The host of Geoff Schwartz is Smarter Than You. Geoff Schwartz back in the building 2 days in a row. Gotta love it. Great to be with you again, Geoff.
I'm glad to be here. Glad to talk some more football.
I love it. All right, so let's just talk generally here for a second. What's been your biggest surprise on the season, either team or player-wise?
Well, the biggest surprise is that there's no elite team right now, in my opinion. We've seen throughout the years where we get to the midway point of the season, you're like, okay, this team should be a Super Bowl favorite, and this team should be a Super Bowl favorite. I mean, the team in the AFC right now might be the 7-4 Chiefs, right? Like that would not have been something that we thought. They're not an elite team at the moment. The Buffalo Bills are falling off, but I think it's more about some of the teams coming up from behind. The Eagles, look at their schedule, guys. They're going to make the playoffs. If you have not wagered the Eagles to make the playoffs yet, you're doing it wrong. This season, they have beaten bad teams and lost to good teams. Their schedule, Giants twice, Washington twice. I think they play Dallas one more time like they have. And the Jets, they have an easy schedule. The Colts right now, too, right? The Colts are kind of building up as the Titans are dropping off because of all their injuries. So there's these teams kind of coming up from the rear that if you haven't wagered on as far as making the playoffs, probably now's a good time to do so.
I love it. Let's talk about the GOAT, the guy that just came off a very convincing win, coming up here with his documentary dropping as well, Tom Brady. He is the clear-cut favorite right now, leading the NFL in touchdowns to win the MVP. Is it his MVP to lose? I know it's the last thing he cares about right now, but Josh Allen second, Brady first. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not going to be Josh Allen, guys. His numbers have dropped drastically from last season, so I don't know why we would think it'd be him. I know that the job of the sportsbooks is to kind of take money in many different directions. It's not going to be Josh Allen, guys. Tom Brady is probably good back. I think Dak Prescott's a good bet. I think Pat Mahomes, guys. Pat Mahomes has a lot of touchdowns. Yeah, a lot of interceptions too, but some of those aren't really his fault. If the Chiefs finish out strong, and the Chiefs are going to win 5 of their last 6. Most likely they might drop one here and go 4-2, but their schedule's not that bad coming down the stretch. There's a good chance Pat Mahomes wins. I would not put it on Josh Allen. I just wouldn't. The Bills have a tougher schedule coming up. Got the Patriots twice. I think they play one of their team kind of sandwiched between those. That's pretty good. Just kind of stay away from Buffalo. But Brady, Dak, and Mahomes for sure.
And staying with the Bucs, obviously a couple of rough weeks, but they've, started out the season starting 6 of their first 7 on W's. They go up to Indy, 2.5-point line. Pretty interesting there. Colts, of course, off a huge convincing win in Buffalo, 5 rushing touchdowns for JT. What do you think about that? Are you staying away, or if you had to fire on either side, you taking the Bucs on the road minus 2.5?
I probably would not. I think the Colts and their ability right now to win in the trenches gives them a leg, especially at home. But 2.5 is not a great number, I don't think. That basically means Colts win the game outright, sort of, I guess. I don't know. 2.5 at home for that in this particular matchup, I don't quite love. But I would lean to the Colts here because of their ability to run the football. They got a little bit of time off. A big win compared to the one extra day, obviously, that Tampa's got to prepare for this game. I would lean Colts here. I don't love it, but I would lean Colts.
And let's shift to the AFC East here. Patriots on a 5-game winning streak, just dominating opponents. They were as high as plus 350 to win that division. They're now at plus 120, Geoff. How do you feel about the Patriots? What's the biggest reason for their success here in the last month plus? And would you take them to win the East?
Well, so here's a question you have about value, right? Because even just a couple weeks ago, they were as high as maybe 8 or 10 to 1, right? Because they started very slow this season. So if you're looking for value on a wager, it's not going to be on the Patriots. Now, however, I think they're making the playoffs. The division is another question. And that's tougher, I think, to put money on at the moment, especially when you're not getting the odds you were getting a couple weeks ago. Buffalo's still a good football team. The Patriots still have a rookie quarterback. They're winning a certain way. If they deviate from that plan, can they win in a different style of football? I'm not quite sure. So I don't feel comfortable, I think, putting money on the Pats now to win the division. To make the playoffs, yes. I think they're in the playoffs, but division, probably not happening.
All right, let's shift to a team that just destroyed by the Patriots, the Cleveland Browns here. Barely got by against the Lions. They've caught a couple of rough L's despite a dominant win over the Bengals. What do you think about this team? They're plus 146 to make the playoffs, minus 188 to not. Baker Mayfield, obviously the talk of the media town. What's your takeaway on the Browns in terms of those odds making or missing the playoffs?
Yeah, I would say no on this one. I would not. I'm not sure I'd lay money on it, but they have the Ravens actually 2 games in a row, kind of odd, and they play the Raiders, Packers, Steelers, Bengals. They're at the Packers, at the Ravens, still at the Steelers. It's a tough road when your quarterback's not healthy. He's clearly not healthy, and they refuse to sit him at all. And I'm not wagering on an injured quarterback, especially one I don't even like, to make the playoffs. I think the Browns are out. They have been the biggest disappointment for me this year. Unfortunately, I thought they were going to be good. My fault for believing in the Browns, but they just haven't been. Their defense has not played as well as we imagined they would play. Offensive line run game is good, but Baker's been a problem. Continues to be hurt, continues to try to play through the injuries, not playing well. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I'm not really willing to lay almost 2 to 1 on that, or 1 to win 2, I should say.
Real quick on that AFC North side of things, before they go against the Ravens this weekend, do you think the Ravens are a good buy to win that division? You think the Bengals could come out and steal it?
Man, this division is so tough because I'm not quite sure the Bengals are good enough to do that right now. But they might have the best kind of parts going for them. Look, the Steelers offensively are very challenged. We know that. So it makes it tough each week for them to win games. They have to win one specific way. I just mentioned the injuries on the Browns. But the injuries on the Ravens have a ton of guys hurt too, right? They're just not very healthy. They're winning because they're very well coached. They're very disciplined. They have a system they trust. And when Lamar comes back, hopefully this week, they'll continue to have their winning ways. But the Bengals are the healthiest team. That sometimes matters down the stretch, is who is healthiest. So I still think it's the Ravens to win, but the Bengals kind of fascinate me because they might just be the last healthy team standing in that division.
Well said. All right, let's get you out of here with this, Geoff. 7 dogs covered last week, 5-1 outright. It's just been dogs barking going on 3-4 weeks here. Do you expect more of the same this weekend, or is there a world holiday weekend that, the favorites could get back to winning?
Well, there's not a lot of big lines this week. A lot of them are pick'ems, 2.5, 3. The biggest one might be Raiders, Raiders and Cowboys. I'm not sure the Raiders are going to win that. So it's not a great weekend, I think, to pick a dog. I mean, maybe the Tennessee goes into New England at plus 6.5 and wins that game. But this is, again, it's not a week where there's a bunch of big underdogs. So I'm not sure the numbers will kind of matter as much as we've seen in other weeks.
Geoff Schwartz, as always, dropping the knowledge. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Thanks so much for joining us. And when I return, we got more things to break down. It's all things betting here on the Bettor Half Hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back into the Bettor Half Hour. Big ups to Geoff Schwartz. I hope you were taking notes. The man has played in the league, in the trenches. He knows what's good, and he's been in the betting world for several years now, post-career. All right, it is now time. I'm very excited about this. I'm busting Jerry to talk about the top 5 against the spread covers this weekend, not including, of course, Thursday night's action. Of course, the Cowboys would be on there, etc. These are the top 5 covers, believe it or not, against the spread, and I'm going to go over their games, and we're going to rapid fire, and I'm going to give grades. Little A, little B. Maybe there's a C. Pass, go, collect $200. Who knows? We're kicking it off with the Green Bay Packers going against the LA Rams, and this is, I have no choice. My hands are tied. This is a B grade. I'm going to lean Packers, though, because quite frankly, this is a team that, again, when they lose under the LaFleur era, as I broke down out the gate, they don't lose a second time. And at home in the frozen tundra, if they've won the last 4, they've covered the last 4. I mean, you saw what happened to Russell Wilson. I mean, he's ready for his second divorce. I already mentioned it to you. They pitched a shutout, a perfect game. Unbelievable. And I have another one here for you. The Packers going into the bye, because they do have a bye. They have won 5 of their last 6 games headed into a week off. You know Aaron Rodgers, not to be confused with the pinky toe, needs to figure it out with the big toe. He needs a day off, and he needs a week off. So he's going to do what he can. And the Rams pressure, believe it or not, bottom 3 with Donald, still not doing what you would think they would do with that front 7. I'm going to take and give a B for the Packers. All right, now we're dancing on the game that I just mentioned earlier. Absolutely incredible. We have the Titans and the Patriots. I'm going to lean Patriots. I'm going to give it a B from a New England's perspective because, quite frankly, this is too hard to ignore from a Titans spot. This is a 5-0 against the spread team as an underdog. This is a team that is 2-1 since the Henry injury, and they live for being underdogs. Now, when they're favorites, it's not the same thing. But I'm staring at a New England team. It's almost too good to be true. 5-0 and against the spread, and they're winning by 3 touchdowns. I just don't see it that way. I think you can lean New England in the game. Against the spread, you got to give it a B. You just have to. All right, now we're going to move on. This one we talked about earlier as well. Bucks dancing with the Colts. I mentioned this to you. Tom Brady lives for going against Indianapolis, and they've been outperforming the market in the last several weeks. It could come to an end because the kryptonite is the number 1 rush D going against a team that cannot stop with Jonathan Taylor. And this team is absolutely contingent on JT running the ball. So I will take the number 1 offense in the NFL. I will take the number 1 rush D in the NFL, and I will give you a B grade, but I'm going to lean with the Bucks here, despite the Sharps feeling like the Colts could come out victorious in Indy. All right, now we dance on a fun one here. We got the Vikings, we got the Niners. This is incredible. I'm telling you, Kirk non-primetime Cousins is undefeated. As an underdog this season, I'm staring at it, 5-0. Meanwhile, the Niners, 1-4 against the spread, at home. They're playing better on the road than at home. It's because Candlestick should have never come to an end. So for me, I'm looking at this, I'm saying, all right, the 1-4 against the spread, the undefeated Vikings, they're coming off a big win, but I'm going to give this an A. I'm going to say pass go. I'm going to say collect. And we're getting 3. I don't know if this is one of those thinking too hard about it, can't figure it out. Why are the Niners? Are they back? Are they back really? I don't know. They caught a Rams in a trap game, and they beat the Jags. Who doesn't beat the Jags unless you're Buffalo? So I'm going to take the Vikings. I'm going to take the value with the points. I think it's an A spread. And we wrap it up with the Eagles and the Giants. In this one, I'm going to lean Eagles, give it a B as well. And it's mainly because the Giants are the worst team in the NFL when it comes to red zone conversion. They are 44.4% when they get in the red zone. It's not ideal. And this Eagles team, they've only allowed 26 plays of 20-plus yards. That is a tops, third best in the NFL. So they're not allowing the deep ball. It's Danny check down dimes, and they're not converting. So I'm going to lean Eagles, give it a B, and that's how we wrap up the grades. And when we return, I'm making picks for tonight. You can't miss it. This weekend, we're cashing W's here on the Bettor Half Hour. And we're back. Last segment, best segment. I'm rapid firing on some picks here, and I'm thankful for some W's. They have to happen. You don't go to the frozen tundra as a warm weather team. I made this mistake last week. I will not do it again. Give me Aaron Rodgers. Give me the Green Bay Packers off a loss. LaFleur, not to be confused with Globo Jim. Average Joe's catching an L here. LaFleur, they are undefeated under his reign as coach. Awful loss. I love it at home. Stafford 7-13 all time against the Packers. I gotta go Green Bay. You already know why. Now I'm zipping on over. This was back and forth. I was back and forth on this, like, do I need a second dish at Thanksgiving or not? I gotta take the 6.5 here. I think this is a little bit of too much respect for a team that still has a rookie under center. And I'm telling you, the Titans were 6 W's in a row before they lost to the Texans. Every single team in the NFL has had a bad loss. I got to take the Titans, who again undefeated and have not lost in their last 5, as road underdogs. They live for being on the road. I'm taking the points there. Call me crazy, and I'm dancing on. I love this one. Might be my favorite bet of the day. I'm going to take the Ravens over the Browns. I'm going to do it on the money line. Swallow the juice. I have to do this. This team in Baltimore is a 4-1 at home team going against a Cleveland Browns squad. They have not put up any points, people. I'm reading this. Minus the Bengals blowout, 13, 17, 14. They're barely scoring. If you want to get in a shootout with Lamar, good luck, my friends. I'll take a better defense overall right now with a overall better running game, even though Chubb is one of the best in the business. Lamar Jackson and company. I'm taking the Ravens in a much necessary bounce back, huge win for the last time they danced in the AFC North against the Browns. Now I'm dancing on a parlay here, all right? You know why I like the Ravens? I'm dancing on the Chargers. The Chargers, one of the best teams in the NFL at covering on the road. Denver, 2-3 at home against the spread. I'm going to take this team to put up over 40 on national TV. Then I'm taking the under in the Bengals and the Steelers. Why? Because 5-1-1 in the last 7. Happy Thanksgiving on the under. I'm out.